Hi, Alexander.
Hi, Astrid. Nice to see you again.
Yes, lovely to see you. Thank you for meeting with me and to answering my question on a statement that you made in Brasilia last year when we met at the Plone conference in 2024 in November. You said to me that one evening at the swimming pool at the hotel, I think it was on day 4 of the conference, you said to me that you've tried more than 200 CMSs and Plone is still the best. And I wanted to chat a little bit further with you about that. But I also wanted to ask you, how do you get 4 Plonistas in an Uber?
Yeah, sure.
So how do you get 4 Plonistas in an Uber? Because we'd managed that a few times.
Well, I think it's not a hard thing to get 4 people in an Uber. It's just a matter of the size of the car, because you always get nice people in the Plone community together. And if we need to go from one place to another, the car is the easiest way sometimes. I think one day we actually got 5 Plonistas in one car.
Oh my word, yes, yeah. Well, with 4 Plonistas, it would be 1 in the front and 3 in the back. Even if we're all tall like we were,
Yeah.
we had some fun times there and some good Plone time even in the Uber. All right.
It's still the same thing every time the community meets. It doesn't matter where you are. You always have fantastic people together, and it's always good speaking, seeing each other, and they are so lovely. So you even want to go into the uncomfortable, squeezy backseat of a car together.
Yes, even there it's fun.
Yeah.
It was my first conference, so I definitely found it to be that way. It was really great.
Yeah, but you're already more than 10 years in the company that uses Plone as a vendor or as a system to help your customers.
Yes.
So your first conference in
My
that
first conference. Well, my first in-person conference, I think my first conference that I attended online was in 2021. And that, of course, everybody was online. So
yeah.
it's not the same. But thankfully, we can all meet now again.
But I think it's almost the same with everybody, that in the beginning they're feeling a bit too shy to really coming to the conferences. I can still remember I started with Plone 2003, and the first conference I attended in person was 2010. And since then, every conference.
Well, we're already planning our trip to Finland this year, so I get it. Once you've been to one, you want to go to all of them.
Yeah, indeed.
Definitely. All right. So yes, back to our topic. What are these 200 CMSs and why is Plone still the best? What maybe you can tell us a little bit about who you are and what your background is with Plone.
Yeah, so I'm Alexander. I'm an IT manager in a German university. I have worked quite a lot with content management systems, but are almost now for 10 years out of the field of content management and responsibility. I'm more a general manager of all technology and architecture stuff, but getting once used to the Plone community and having so much great minds in there where you can learn a lot from is still holding me in the community. How do I started with Plone? It was actually 2002, 2003 that the university where I'm studying at that time were looking for a new central content management system to fulfill the accessibility rules Germany has applied at that time for federal level institutions. And at that time, we have looked up all content management systems that have some kind of presence in Germany at that time. That was almost 1,000 CMSs at that time. where we go through paper and in detail we looked a bit more than 200 systems into more details, a short editing version looking into more and more, and narrow it down to a small list of systems. And all the large names at that time in Germany, Typo3, Drupal, later then we looked into WordPress, but also the other names, the commercial vendors at that times. We looked into a lot of them. And I have to say, not one system was close to the another one. Everyone has a special focus on it. And I'm a computer scientist. I can't say there is the best system out there. It's always depending on your use case. But Plone is still the one that fits to most of the use cases I'm working in universities, in large organizations, and with respect to certain elements. And there, Plone still is probably one of the best choices you can make.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So what are some of the others that you have compared it to recently?
So my university at the moment uses, for example, Crownpeak, First Spirit, and Fiona, Infopark Fiona, as their public-facing CMSs. We have Plone for our intranet sites and certain elements and certain specialized application portals. Then WordPress, Drupal, and so are still always around for certain elements. So there's a lot of the larger players in there. So I'm frequently using them. And then you have all the varieties of tools out there. So we have to decide or distinguish between the classic web content management systems where you can edit through the web the content of the website. Then you have the static site generators, and even the Plone community using static site generators, for example, for the documentation. Sphinx is also a kind of content management system that has a relevant part. And I think that's something very special to see. We, as the Plone community, know where Plone's strengths are, but we are also seeing where the weaknesses are, and especially for documentations, something like Sphinx is the better choice. That's why I always say it depends what is the best fitting content management system for your use case.
Absolutely. We were looking at some slides earlier from a talk that you gave in 2018 in Tokyo, where you spoke about a similar topic to the one that we're talking about today. And I think a couple of the slides might be relevant. Shall I show one of them now?
Maybe a bit later. So maybe we can link in the description of the video later, link to the other talk. But I have to say, at that time, that was a talk I gave to the Plone community. So it's always something that there was some talks about where Plone can still learn from others and so on. The other thing I may want to mention, what a lot of people is always forgetting. You attended the annual meeting of the Plone Foundation members in Brazil. And every year in our budget report, there is an expense to the CMS Garden project.
Yes.
Can you remember?
Yes.
Maybe let's talk about a bit more about that. CMS Garden is a kind of federation of open source content management systems. Within it, it is Plone, yes, it's Drupal, it's WordPress, it's Joomla, it's Typo3, and several others. So why can we as open source communities, some say we are competitors. That's not right. We are actually people learning from each other, from what's good in the one system, what's not so good in the other, and where we can learn from each other. And we actually see we are not competitors. We are actually working on very specific fields where one of the system excels more than the other one.
Mm. Well, that makes sense. And I think that's good to keep in mind, because I think in the world one always feels like you're in competition with somebody. But isn't it better to not feel like that?
Competition sometimes is also a good thing, because if someone is driving you to become better, like in a competition, then you really try to excel. But it's still the thing, on which parts are we competing each other? And I think what we have to see is, if we're talking about content management systems, it's all about the content you want to present in the web. And it doesn't matter which system you have. In the end, the content is the king. It's the thing that matters. And all the editors working with content management systems just want to make an awesome website for their content consumers. Should it be a blogger that has its audience? Should it be a university that has their students, their researchers? Or should it be in a company, the clients buying a product? It's always that you want to get a website that helps their consumers.
That's right. It makes me think of a talk that one of my colleagues gave in 2023. Two of our colleagues gave in Belgium. No, this was in Belgium.
Okay.
In Namur.
Sure,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And the topic of the talk was nobody loves Plone, because the people, the end user, or even the editor, they don't really care that it's Plone. They just want it to do what it needs to do. We all love Plone, but in the Plone community, but in the end, the person who is using it every day, that editor, they don't really care. Or what was it? I think it was nobody cares about Plone. Yes.
Yeah, but do you know why it is that way?
Well, they don't mind. They don't care what system it is that they use, as long as their problem is solved.
It's also another thing that plays a lot with it. If you're so I'm an IT manager, and in the universities we always get the complaint that especially the administration want to work with certain tools they know. So in Europe, SAP is one of those tools for ERP systems. And if we just see or look into that, if you open an SAP portal, you always see that it's SAP, not that it is the SAP portal special for this institution or so on, especially in the back end. And if you're looking, for example, Typo 3 or Drupal, if you're logged in as a content creator, as the editor, you see that it is this specific content management system with its branding. If you're opening Plone, look at the current demo sites. There is no branding of Plone in a normal up and running Plone system, because you're editing in place in the website as it looks and feels for the outside.
What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get.
Okay, so that actually disconnects the user or the editor from the product that they are using. That makes sense. Interesting. I've never thought of it that way. That's very interesting. But to get back to the content is king, we had a discussion the other day with another colleague about the content rules that Plone has, the very powerful content rules that we are still discovering every day how many of them there are, and how one can put them in place. How do the content rules in Plone compare with a similar setup in other CMSs?
I have to say, things like content rules or advanced workflows are typical elements of upper range platforms. most of the content management system doesn't have anything like that.
Wow. Okay. And also just the Plone ones are just there. They are part of the core. It's not an add-on that you need.
Yeah,
Am I right?
well, maybe you know that I'm part of the Plone security team
Yes.
also, and the German Federal Office for Information Security
Mm-hmm.
has done 2 larger reports on relevant open source content management systems in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the major findings there, what's quite interesting, is that most of the content management systems, as vanilla systems, don't bring you actually something that is useful. Most of the content management systems rely extremely on add-ons, and you can't use or no installation is done without add-ons. Only Plone was in these researchers the one system that you use without any additional add-ons. But also that's the difference between a platform and a product. So if you're looking into the solely commercial space, they mostly work on products because that's fitting one specific use case for the users. There you have it that they're feature complete in their specific case. Then you have it, but they are focusing on specific things like block builders or something like that.
Okay.
Other systems rely so heavily on add-ons.
Okay. And I guess that's also an extra income stream then for them. If they create add-ons, then it's the upsell.
It's especially in the open source world for companies. So a lot of companies getting their revenue on building specific add-ons for their consumers, for their customers.
Wow. And that's not the case in
Well,
not the case
Plone
for
has
Plone.
something similar, but as most of the Plone companies I've seen are a full service company doing the development, doing the design work, doing the deployment and so on, helping
And
with
the,
that.
and the hosting, because I believe that's also that's the specialist environment.
Yes.
Because people often ask, okay, it's open source and it's free. How does anyone make money out of it?
Well, it's the same thing with everything in open source. So open source does not, or free software does not mean it's free of charge in anything. If you want to have freedom, you have to pay for it. And sometimes open source and free software is more expensive than simple products you can buy. But the freedom in the long run has so much more value.
We sometimes talk about free like a puppy.
In
It's a
Germany,
lot of work
like
to look
free beer.
It's a free beer.
Yeah,
A free
the
beer.
free beer culture.
Yes. Shall we look at some of those slides from 2018?
So there's one slide. This was a slide from a consultants company called Real Story Group, and they do annual reviews of relevant content management systems, or a lot of relevant systems in the different spaces. You see here web content and experience management, the blue line, but also enterprise collaboration and social software or enterprise portals. And the small image down there, Plone was the only open source tool playing at that time in the 3 major areas for certain things. Drupal was on 2 lines, but most of the systems haven't been on more than 1 line. Only the large vendors like Oracle, Microsoft, Adobe was on multiple lines. But that's the typical problem of consultants companies. They're focusing on vendors, not on systems.
I think I might have skipped on to another. This is the slide that you are referring to.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, good. Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of the systems in there, and Drupal, Plone, Joomla in Europe is a lot of things. Typo 3, Magnolia, eSpirit, Omni Update, Crown Peak, all of those I've worked with, and they all have some specialties and so on, but it's really sometimes the question of the technology behind, how safe you can really rely on the system, how easy it is to upgrade, what's the long-term vision of the system. At this time, 2018, I gave the talk. Drupal was still on Drupal 7. Before Drupal 7, it was really like every 2 years a new major release, and you need to make a complete new project for a new Drupal site because you can't upgrade it. With Drupal 8, they changed their complete mindset and go more into the direction like Plone to support long-term visions. But you still can upgrade a Plone 1 site to the current Plone 6 version. So Plone was always more the enterprise, long-term commitment.
Because 2 years is not a long time.
No, it's not. But it's perfect for small marketing companies. They can sell a lot of projects with that. And even some of the press or marketing teams liked it because then they get money from the business owners to do work continuously.
Your recurring income, because you have to keep painting the house.
Yeah, it is.
That's right. Shall I move on to the next slide?
Maybe we should talk first about it. One of the things, if we're talking on selecting a content management system, is the problem, what do I need as the customer or the IT department for my institution? And maybe the next slide actually is very interesting to it. It's also originally from a slide from the Real Story Group. Can you move to that one? It's the slide is framed by Tony Bryan from a Real Story Group. It's the thing of the underbuy overbuy problem, because every system or every vendor has a capability spectrum where they are in. There is a real capability of the vendor and the system, and some salesmen making promises that the system can't fulfill, or even the technology people within the company can't do. The other thing is that the institution that wants to use the system has some institutional skills. And let's be fair, not everybody of us is a digital native. Some people still have problems writing good websites and so on. And so we have an institutional skill, and it's a problem if the institutional skill and the skill or the capacity of the system varies too much. So you have a capacity gap in the positive or negative. So if the institution wants more than the system can give, that's a horrible. But also the other direction is bad, because if the system can do so much more and you don't understand the system, the people get frustrated about the system and so on. So there's a lot of technology or involvements with it, and we have to face it. Plone is a system that has a huge capabilities, but it's like with Excel. Most of the people use less than 10% of it.
Yes, I believe it's quite powerful if you really go into Excel. Excel's being an Excel super user. But do you think there's a risk with having Plone and then not using it to its full capacity? Is there a risk there? Because we found with some smaller projects, it's still okay. You can still have, I sometimes call it a Ferrari engine under the hood of a normal car. But it sounds like you're saying it is maybe a risk.
I think it's the difference to frame it. For Plone, it's not the problem. For other vendors, it's a huge problem because most of the systems don't hide what they can do with the system. So if you have an editor or admin interface that offering you too much capabilities, where the end user is really needs a lot of time to focus what I need to do, and that's one of the real advantages of Volto. It's so minimalistic in the editing interface.
It is.
Plone has the capability to enable or strip down certain capabilities they have in it, so that you just offer the specific things that the user wants or user needs in the specific content. But Plone has so many capabilities in it, but is hiding it. And let's be sure, it's you came with the Ferrari motor in an other car. I would say it's the same with content management related to cars. If you always want to have the supercar, the fantastic Sportswagen, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, it's a nice thing. A lot of marketing persons are always requesting that. But if you then drive with this supercar to IKEA to buy a mattress for your bed or a new furniture, that doesn't fit into the car. For that, a van would be much more suitable. So it's depending on what you're needing.
So you're saying that Plone gives you what you use is what you get, not even just what you see is what you get. What you use is what you get, and what you don't use, you don't get. You don't get to see that. So it sounds like the cognitive load then on the editor is much better, or shall I say less. There's less cognitive load and confusion, possibility for confusion, because of this very clean interface that they're working with.
Indeed it is. And I would say what we have seen in the past, a lot of content editors in marketing departments have their own blog system, mostly on WordPress. And they say WordPress is the benchmark in editing experience for them. The problem is WordPress don't have the workflows for large institutions. If you have one or two editors that are contributing to the website, then WordPress is a good thing. In a university, in a company with hundreds of thousands of editors, do you really want that everybody can edit the site of the CEO, of the president, or on legal documents? No, there you need something special. If you have a corporate design you have to fit in, then it's a different story. And I think that's the thing with Volto. Volto giving you almost the equal or better user experience in the context of corporate designs than WordPress give you for a blog.
Okay, yeah, that sounds sounds quite stressful. That first scenario that you spoke about.
But
with everyone having
perspective of the editors, they want to focus on the content. They want to have the most awesome user experience for them and want to produce the best content for their consumers. But in the end, the consumer is more important than the editor.
Yes, but isn't it then also a case of better control?
I think that's why I normally choose Plone in my context, is because I'm always working in a large organization where you need a lot of control over the system, what you publish, when you publish, how you publish it, that it still fits into the corporate design, that all the websites are accessible, and so on. And
excellent.
A good website without a good information structure doesn't make any sense.
Is there another slide that we can share?
Yes, there's a last slide from this 2013 slide. It's the thing between platform and products. Plone is definitely an upper range web content management platform. It's something that can apply for the larger market, but it's always that the platform is more complex, even sometimes more costly and time consuming than a product for a specific use case. But then you have developers that can scope it to your specific application, and you can do almost everything you like with it. A product does help you solving a specific use case, but in the end, you sometimes need to buy 3, 4, 5 products to get the things done what you want. So it's the thing, what's meeting with your consumers, with your customers on the side. That is the relevant part. And Plone is a platform that helps the developers and the consumers. And that's the important part of it.
This touches a nerve for me personally, because we decided on a software as a service accounting package recently. And only after we had moved everything over did I realize that one crucial thing it couldn't do. And it looks like the communities or that vendor isn't prepared to build that functionality in, and that is something we're going to have to buy. Those are significant costs that one. Well, I don't like that sort of surprise. So it's very nice to hear that Plone does all of these things, that it is then open source, that that add-ons are available, that almost anything is possible, because it's something that is very irritating for me to have this software where this specific functionality, it feels like I'm going to have to pay for it extra now.
Yeah, it's that what we've seen on the slide before with the capacity gap. So in your specific use case, the product has less capacity that your institution needs.
That's right. And I only figured that out after the fact, because it's not one of the things that I expected it not to be able to do. So I didn't investigate that specific functionality. So yes, if you say Plone does almost anything, then I think that would put a customer at ease, that they know they're not going to have these funny surprises down the line, 6 months down the line, when they realize a crucial functionality isn't there, or they have to pay extra for it.
But maybe one thing I said, we decided by the end of 2003, the system we choose for the central content management system at the university I was in. And in the end, one of the selling points was the Plone community saying for which use cases you shouldn't use Plone, because it was the only vendor or community that says, yeah, sure, it's possible, but you shouldn't do that. That or that system is better for this specific use case. And this openness and this mind to sending a person off to another thing was actually, yes, we are in the hand of good technologists. They know their limits or know where something fits better. At the point, it was somebody at our university wanted to integrate a learning management element into the web content management system, and they say, no, go for Moodle, go for this or this tool. It's better fit for you there.
Okay.
But you can integrate everything in there, what you want for specific smaller cases.
Isn't that anyway the best sales pitch? If somebody says to you, we care enough about your problem to tell you this is not going to fix it.
Yes.
We're not going to sell it to you if it doesn't fix your problem, if it doesn't solve your problem.
As I said, I'm working for a university. We as public institutions relying on tax money, and it would be a shame if we would be wasting money on something that doesn't solve the problems or doesn't serve the needs of our students, of our researchers.
So refreshing to hear. Alexander, thank you so much for your time. I think this has answered my question about why you say you've tried more than 200, or is it more than, I think it's quite a lot more than 200 from what you've said. CMSs and Plone is still the best. I look forward to sharing an Uber again with you in Finland later this year. I hope you'll see
Probably
each
the
other.
last time in Finland, or I was already in Jyväskylä. It's an awesome place, but you can walk. Definitely.
That's true. That's true. So maybe not, instead of being squashed into an Uber, we will walk in the fresh air there in
Yeah.
Jyväskylä. Yes. Thank you so much, Alexander.
It was a pleasure as always.
And happy World Plone Day, everyone.
Happy World Plone Day.
Thanks.